getting a better understanding of what is your relationship with money? What is your relationship with investing? Because if you don't address it now, what happens? Let's just say you win the lottery and you get all this money, and then someone's like, okay, we got to shelter you from taxes. We got to grow this money. Those same, I call them roadblocks, money blind spots. Those same things are going to pop up when you're making critical financial decisions.
And I have Shinobu here.
Hello, happy to be here.
Hi, great. How's your day going today?
Good. It's been very busy. So I'm just excited that we have this time to kind of take a deep breath. And I love what you do is really create space for different, all different walks of life. So I'm kind of looking forward to this as my kind of take a moment session today for myself.
Wonderful. So let's go ahead and jump in. Take us back. So we're going to be talking about how happiness from within transforming finances with money.
Oh, yeah.
So take us back. Where are you from?
I'm originally from New Jersey. So I am a Jersey girl and I'm a first generation American. So my father is from East Africa in Kenya and my mother is from Japan. So there weren't a lot of us around, it seems like, in northern New Jersey. So it was kind of always I think I always felt like a little bit on the outside of things. And when I tried to explain things to my parents, whether it would be something about, sneakers that I needed because it was part of pop culture or whatever, it was always just hard to explain it to my parents because even they had very different cultures growing up as well. So I just always felt a little bit different, even, within the home.
That's wonderful. And where did your money journey begin?
It really began from a young age. And I talk about this in my book, but from elementary school, because my dad had lost both of his parents before he turned 18. And he had my sister and I at a really young age. So he didn't have a big opportunity or a long time to be able to build wealth, build savings, then plan his life. Life just kind of unfolded for him as it did. So he was always kind of stressed about money and always was worried about it. So he talked to me about it a lot because I think as he started to get things under his feet and starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, he had this really big concern that what if something were to happen to him? And so it was what he talked about. He just wanted me to know, if you can have a few of these life skills, if I were to pass away tomorrow, if your mother were to pass away tomorrow, I want to know that you're going to be okay. And so that was really scary for me as a kid because we didn't have family in the United States. So for me, I'm like, what are you talking about? You might not be here. And then when he really explained, well, let's kind of paint the scenario. If we were to both die tomorrow, you don't have relatives here. And at that time, you didn't have WhatsApp. You didn't have Snapchat. You didn't have these things where you could be connected to your family internationally at the click of a button. You needed to know international dialing codes. Your phone needed to be able to make international calls. So as a kid, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is really scary. And then my mother's family didn't speak English. So there was that other concern too of, okay, well, how would I even communicate with these people? So he really, really scared me of, if something were to happen to us, here's some things that you need to know about money. So I took it very seriously. And while it shaped me, it shaped my interest in money and it shaped really my behavior around it. I think a lot of the decisions that I made with money for fun, with money for my career, it was really fear-based off of that because it wasn't this just own experience that I had. It was really living through the fear of what he experienced.
So where did your money journey begin? Let's start there.
When I started working when I was pretty young because my mom was such a stickler, so I couldn't get anything. It was maybe if my birthday I could get something or for, around the holidays. But if I ever went to the store and was like, oh, hey, mom, this new CD came out, she would be like, nope, no way, not doing that. So I wanted to start working pretty early on. And what I noticed was I started to hide money. Every time I earned money, I would put it in an envelope and then I would hide it. And my sister was different. She kind of would spend the money and was like, what are you, you're so weird. What are you doing? But then I would lose it because I would hide it so well. But I was hiding it because I was afraid that I was going to need it. So that's kind of when I started to realize that I had a serious relationship with money. And kind of as I got older and started making money, I really was paying attention to it a lot more than I think people my age.
Great. That's really interesting. I love that. So what happened after that? How old were you at this point?
Oh, I was a teenager.
Okay. And then where did you go, like after high school?
Yeah, high school, I went to college in New Jersey, and it was probably my junior year when people started talking about careers and what are you going to do? And I think like a lot of other people, I had no idea. And you're studying and all of a sudden you're supposed to take your studying and turn into a job. And it was all completely foreign to me. And I got an internship working for Smith Barney, which is now Morgan Stanley. It was the biggest regional office they had in that area of the East Coast. So it was about 90 different brokers that they had. So financial advisors, a huge office. And I was interning there and I really loved it because every day was very different. It was very fast paced. I had a few other jobs, a few other internships. And I think at the internship level, you're not really doing that much. So you're sitting in front of this computer. Maybe I was making phone calls and I was so bored at these jobs. I was scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what life is like. This is when all the teachers were talking about the real world. I'm like, this is the real world. So because every day when I would go to this internship, it was different and fast paced. And it was when we were talking about the stock market, I felt like there were so many things that I didn't know, and I learned so much every day that I was there that really piqued my interest too. Kind of taking this money story that I had of, okay, yes, you want to save money, but then what do you do with it? And oh my gosh, there's a million things you could do with it. And that overwhelm really excited me of wanting to understand that better. So I interned there, and then I ended up getting my first job with that company as well.
So that's really amazing that you were able to get a job with Morgan Stanley. That's a pretty reputable company. So what happens after this? Take us forward. So like, where did you start making your journey with money, making an impact? And did you used to be a coach, or where did that experience take you moving forward?
Yeah, so I became a financial advisor, and it was difficult to even become a financial advisor, I think, as a young person, but I also wasn't sure if it was because I was a female. I wasn't sure if it was because I had a unique name. I wasn't sure if it's because I didn't look like anybody else around me. So I didn't know what I didn't know. And I started to kind of internalize that a little bit. Then I would see other people that were my age that maybe had no work experience coming in, getting these jobs as a financial advisor. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, they don't have any experience. They haven't even interned here. What makes them qualified that I'm not qualified for? So I think there was still, because we're going back 15 years ago, there was really this bias towards, I think, I don't want to speak out of turn, but that women weren't really looked at to be in these sales roles in kind of the stock market environment. And when I started to realize that, I was like, I don't want to fight so hard for a job that I don't even know that I'm going to be good at. So I kind of took other sales jobs. I was successful at them and said, okay, I do want to do this. So I became a certified financial planner, and that's additional education requirements that you need. You need a certain amount of experience to do that. There's a series of courses and tests that you have to take, but it really taught me a lot about financial planning and not just simply the stock market or investing. It kind of took it a step further and really explained like short-term impacts of making financial decisions. Well, what about the long-term consequences that you have for doing that? Why would someone want to buy one type of insurance over another type of insurance? What happens after you die? Just kind of going through all of these scenarios at a really in-depth level, getting that certification. I think it was then hard for someone to say no to me because I had work experience, I had sales experience, I had the certification. So I started to get jobs as a financial advisor. And I loved it. It kind of took off from there. So I ended up managing, a book of client assets of over 350 million for Fidelity Investments. And I did that for a number of years and then transitioned to financial education for a large company where I was teaching. And that was a huge eye opener for me because before that, I was working with a lot of clients that had a minimum amount of money to invest of around $1 million. So you were doing more kind of tax strategies, more investment planning, but you were seeing them kind of in the middle or the end of their journey in that sense of building this wealth. It's like, okay, we've created this wealth. Now we want all these solutions. When I started teaching, that's when it was really obvious to me that so many people weren't on that same trajectory. A lot of people didn't have this information. They were closing in on retirement. And after I would do a workshop, it was this constant theme of, I just wish somebody would have told me this sooner. And, when we'd get together and they say, okay, what else can I do? And no matter how we ran the numbers, you can't make up for time. It would take a lot of money to be able to do that. So it was kind of me having similar conversations like this, that I was like, this doesn't feel good anymore to be kind of telling people this information when it's not that useful anymore because they can't do anything with it. And you move from having these financial planning conversations instead of what strategy looks good for you to, okay, well, how much equity do you have in your home? Where could you live that's cheaper? Can you move in with family? I mean, these kind of conversations that are completely life-changing. And it was sad to have these conversations and, just the looks on their faces. It was tough. So after that, I had started a family and I had my son and I was traveling for work, and the work schedule with what I wanted at home with my family life just wasn't working. So I decided to step away from that job and I opened Empowered Planning, my company, to be able to help people that were around my age, to give them the financial education, investment education, so they're not going to get to that point later on in life where they're going, how come nobody told me this? So I'm trying to shout this from the rooftops as much as I can for anybody who wants to learn a little bit more and wants to take some ownership on this, to be able to teach them how to do it on their own.
Gotcha. So let's go deeper. So when did you start your book? Tell us the title of your book.
Investing is your superpower.
Investing is your superpower. So where did you come up with that title? That's very unique. And when did you publish your book?
I published my book in May of 2021, so just a few months ago.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I came up with the title because a lot of people that I work with think that they need more money to start investing. So when we're having these conversations or they're attending a workshop, they're like, oh yeah, this is great, but I don't have a lot of money yet. And I'll do that when I have more money. And you could be talking to two people. One person could have, $500,000 saved. Another person could have $10 saved, and they both think they need more money to start investing. So nobody defines what more money means. We just don't know. When we think about investing, a lot of times we just associate it with someone that already has a lot of money, that they're in this kind of investing game that isn't for everybody else. And that's not necessarily true. What really makes up the difference is time. The more time you have, it's compounding interest. You can make money. And then when you make money, you begin to make money on your money, and it compounds over time. So that needs the space to grow, the space to compound. If people don't know that, they think, oh, I'll just wait 5 more years, 10 more years to start investing, thinking they have more money, when really, if they started earlier, they would be in better shape. So I want people to know that it is a superpower. And if you can get it to work and start working, you're going to be getting stronger and stronger and building, larger assets and being able to keep it that way. So I wanted something to kind of excite people about it and not look at it like, I have to wear a business suit to start investing or talk to someone like that. I just wanted to make it more friendly and welcoming to, this generation.
Beautiful. So here at Happiness from Within, our mission is to touch people's hearts and souls at a very deep level through interviews. So investing in your superpower, what would you say are 3, let's go deeper. Like, what are 3 steps that somebody can take to start investing in their superpower?
Yeah, I think the first one is
Somebody listening right now, like they don't know where to start. They're like, okay, I want to be a superpower woman, a superpower man, whoever's listening. Like, how can we bring that person right now hope into their heart? What can you share?
the first step is being honest with yourself and being open to getting a better understanding of what is your relationship with money? What is your relationship with investing? Because if you don't address it now, what happens? Let's just say you win the lottery and you get all this money, and then someone's like, okay, we got to shelter you from taxes. We got to grow this money. Those same, I call them roadblocks, money blind spots. Those same things are going to pop up when you're making critical financial decisions. So in order for you to move through those, you have to understand what are they and be okay with that. I have a problem that I get scared when I have to spend money, or when I get scared when I have to make a big financial decision. I still make them, but I'm very aware that I got to recognize when I'm getting nervous and my gut is telling me to run like heck in the other direction. That's when I need to take a time out and really work through these things. And so for people to be able to just get honest with, well, what is my relationship with money? Did I create these habits, or were they passed down to me from a partner? Were they passed down to me from my parents or somebody of influence? And the second thing is to take action, is to do something. So we could read all day. You could read my book 500 times. And if you don't do anything with it, then the book is basically just a coaster, right, for something else. So my whole thing is to take action with it. So whatever that is, if your first step is just to say, I'm going to start saving $5 more, 5% more, whatever that is, do one thing that's taking action, because you automatically, after that action is completed, feel more empowered. And then the third thing is just to find community around where you are in your journey. So you don't feel like you're behind. You don't feel like you don't know as much as everybody else. Just to find community, because this is not something that we're taught in school, really at any level. I was an economics major and a business minor. I didn't learn anything about this in college. So what other degree do you need to have to learn about this? There's the huge missing link in our education system. So people can talk themselves out of why they don't know. And we just need to kind of forget about all of that. And I would start with those three steps.
That's great. So a lot of my listeners are also entrepreneurs. So someone that has a business, where would you recommend that person to start?
I think the same place, because anything that you do in your personal life will trickle over into your business. So if you're feeling more empowered in your personal finances, it will allow you to make better executive decisions as an entrepreneur, because a lot of times there is a lot of this culture of, you need to spend money to make money. So you need to market, or you need to have a good logo and a brand, and you're doing all of that. But if you're not paying attention to the finances, it can be this underlying stress that you don't necessarily address. And then over time, it's kind of just poking at you a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you lose focus on what you're going after. So if someone's, let's say opening a gym, and that's what their goal is, to open, 3 different gyms and locations, and they're really excited about fitness and nutrition, but they're concerned about finances, they have to keep getting pulled away from their motivation, their goal, to sit with this stuff. So the sooner you can do that stuff, the better. And you're just going to become more empowered by those numbers. And you could always assign this responsibility later on to someone else as you become more successful. So you don't have to do everything yourself, but it's just to understand, what steps do I need to take? Who could I leverage and do that? So you're not running into a situation where maybe the numbers aren't adding up at the end of the month. And then you're like, shoot, I can't even focus on what I want to focus on, because now I have to go back to the basics with the finances.
That's great. I really love what you said about what is your relationship to money? That's really deep, because as you know, a lot of people that do win the lottery, I mean, most of them end up right back where they were at, because they don't have the conditioning, the mindset, right? Like how to invest in that. So,
yeah, and it's just these kind of small actions that you take become habitual, that you just start to do, and you're like, okay, well, I know how to do this. And if you're really clear on what you're doing with your money or what that looks like. I'm a big believer in automating your financial life. So the more you can do that, the better. Because if I'm sitting down with you and I'm saying, let's look at all your finances, let's look at some investments, most people have to gather all the information. They have to gather, I get, a paycheck from here. I started my own business here. I have this side hustle here. I'm affiliate over here. All right. So that's like 5 different places they're getting income. Then it's, I have money in this account. I had this account, but then I stopped using it. I started using it, but I never closed it. And then I had this old job. I had this money. And that's really tiring. So it's kind of what we want to try to do is eliminate the decision fatigue. So every time you're looking at your finances, you're not having to gather all of this information and look at it, because often what happens is we gather it, we have it, and holy smokes, we're tired. And then we're like, okay, now I have all this information. I'm going to do something with it tomorrow because I'm tired today. And then tomorrow, life happens. Something pops up that you maybe didn't think about or you forgot about, then you address that. And you already have this good feeling about yourself because you just did all this hard work the day before or whatever, the week before. And then you kind of kick the can down the road. And then 3 months later, you're like, shoot, I got to address this again. And then you're gathering and then you're exhausted. So it's normal to do that. And I've talked about this so many times, but when President Obama was in office, he did an interview with Vanity Fair and he said that he only wears blue and gray suits and he never makes a decision about what he eats. Because he said by 3 o'clock, when he has to make a critical decision that could impact our country and many others, he doesn't want to be tired because he's making all of these decisions from 5 a.m. in the morning. So it's just to simplify that. So if you have all of that dialed in, you're kind of just every month doing a quick snapshot and then you're making a critical decision. You're not having to gather all of this information and look at it. So the more you can automate, and I talk about this a lot in the last section of my book, the easier it is and the better you get. And it's kind of just strengthening that muscle that you have.
Wow. I love that. And what is the mindset that somebody can start to pay their debt and start saving too? What is one piece of advice you would give to that person?
To take action. I think it's the same thing because we can look at all the numbers and feel overwhelmed by debt. And debt is just full of emotions. We can feel overwhelmed. We can feel shame. We can feel behind, all of these things that we're filling in the blanks. We're not necessarily people are telling that, but we're thinking that of ourselves. So if you have debt and you're going, well, I can't save, I usually will kind of split the difference. So if you're paying your debt, you're paying the minimum down towards your debt, whatever else you have left over, I'm just going to use $1,000 because it's an even number. If you have $1,000 left after you're paying your minimums, you take $500 and pay extra towards that debt and $500 towards savings. Logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense if you're paying, let's say you're paying 7% on your debt. If it's credit card, you're paying 25%. And then you're going, Shinobu, wait a minute, you want me to put $500 in a 0% account? This doesn't make any sense. It's just to build it or even investing that. So when you're, let's say 10 years go by, your debt's paid off, whatever that is, you're not starting with zero on the savings side because we can't make up for that 10 years of time. So you want to make sure that as the credit card company or whoever is charging you interest, that you're also making and investing part of that money if you can to be able to create that. So of course you need to have an emergency fund and all of those things before you start investing. But when you only focus on one thing, like paying down debt, if an unexpected expense comes up and you don't have any cash on hand, that's going on a credit card. And it's kind of this self-defeating thing that people can do. And then you feel bad, and you shouldn't feel bad because you've been paying off the debt really hard. So just kind of doing a little bit of both, even if logically you don't think it makes sense, it's there to be this cushion. And then it's there if you can even take it a step further and invest it so you have something to kind of show for it after you pay this debt down.
That's great. I really love what you said. That's really good advice about the $1,000, $500 towards debt, $500 towards savings. Because it's true. In like 10 years, you don't want to not have anything. That's really powerful what you shared. I love it.
Yeah, that's like the
Me
worst
fired up.
feeling is if you're, celebrating that you paid down your debt and then you're turning around going, geez, I got zero in my accounts. It doesn't feel good when you just really did something incredible. So you do want to have the mix of that.
Mm. I'm ready to start investing in my superpower. That's wow.
Woohoo.
No, that's great. I mean, this is really great. I'm literally having more confidence. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And the person listening, I feel, is going to have confidence too. So let's go a little bit more into um, share us a little bit more about your book, about investing in your superpower. If it's something regarded to, I know we were talking more mindset, but just anything you'd like to share from your heart.
Yeah, I break it down into 3 different phases. So the first phase is really more on this mindset stuff, how you can come over that, really looking at your core numbers to just see like where are you at today? What's a financial snapshot? Then the second part of it is really investing. We're talking about what strategies are out there, what does all of that look like? What companies could you use? Why individual stocks versus mutual funds? What is all of this? Do you want to do it yourself? Do you want someone else to do it for you? Just kind of really going through all of it. What makes sense if you're just getting started? And then the third part is putting it all together. So now how do we automate it? How do we create these different buckets, different goals that you have? How much should you be putting in there? What should it be invested in? So by the end of it, if you're kind of working the book the whole time, by the end of it, your financial life, your investing life is automated. And then I have checklists and templates that you can use that once you've created this, when you go back to check on your strategies, you know what you're looking for. You're again not having that fatigue of like, I'm gathering all this information. It's kind of clear, like, what does this look like? You check the box and you can kind of go through that. So you have a process, you have a system in place that's repeatable. And that's what we're looking for. And I also created 3 different characters because education's good, information's great, but how do you actually apply it to your life? And that's really what I'm doing at the end of every chapter, is showing you an activity to apply this chapter to your life. And there's a workbook that you can purchase that's a digital workbook, or you can just get a journal and do it yourself because all the activities are in there. And so you kind of follow these 3 characters of how are they going? What are their, money blind spots that they have? How do they overcome them? What obstacles are they looking at? And then what strategies are they picking for their investments? What kind of retirement accounts are they choosing? Why are they choosing them? And then you see what they're able to do at the end. So it kind of gives you definitely education. I tried not to make it boring because I didn't want to write a textbook. And so that's what I tried to do, is just color it in with these 3 characters. You follow them throughout the book. And then as they're doing it, you're kind of doing it on your own too.
Okay, great. And we'll definitely make sure that the link below will be available for people to purchase the book.
Awesome.
So whichever platform you guys are listening to this, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, etc., the link will be below for you guys to connect with Shinobu, and also please check out her book. So this has been really great so far. So question for you. What does happiness from within mean to you?
For me, it means finding that inner calm, because I'm a very type A person. And that kind of can get really kind of cloud your mind a little bit, of like giving you extra things to do. Or, I think being a parent has really challenged that part of me, because there's so many things that I can't control and I'm constantly challenged with that. So the happiness within is really finding that calm to be present. So I'm not clouding my mind of like, I should be doing more. I could have done this. It's just like sit in with what happened today. And that's why I was looking forward to this, because it's kind of allowing me to just sit in this space and, even be proud that I wrote this book. And instead of looking at like, what should I do with this book from here? It's like, well, I really threw my passion into a book that I wanted to use to educate people. And I think that's what happiness within means, is just that kind of peace that internally that I can find.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I love that. Love that. That's really beautiful. And how do you want to be remembered when you take your last breath?
Compassionate. I think that would be the most loving way that I could be remembered. I think that, with all of the different platforms, even for social media, it's, you forget that people are people at times. And I think that's why I love what you do, because they're really honest conversations that kind of go anywhere. And it really just has introduced me to a lot of people that maybe I wouldn't have heard of or maybe looked into otherwise. And I think if we can kind of give more than we get while we're on this earth, that's kind of my goal.
It's beautiful. How do you embody abundance into your life?
I don't know that I am embodying abundance. I would kind of think it's the same thing of finding that instead of, writing a list of all the things that I didn't accomplish that week or that day, flipping it and writing a list of all the things that I did accomplish. And I think with children, it's really changed my life because they grow so fast, and really making sure that I'm enjoying the moments as they're coming. And so rather, I've really been trying this year, not looking at like, well, what did I do? It's like, anytime I say that in my head, I'm like, well, what did I do? What am I happy about? What did I do? And so I think that will be my abundance reminder.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I just want to honor you too. I mean, I feel that one step you have taken in embodying your abundance is writing this book, because a lot of people need this information. So, thank you for the time and your heart and soul in writing this book. It's not easy. I've never written a book, but it's not easy, right? It's not just
no. It's like a love-hate you have with it. But yeah, I was surprised when it was finally done that it was so many pages, because you're editing, the writing the book, the first draft around isn't that hard, because who said it's good, right? You're just kind of like writing all this stuff down. Once it's done and you're like, well, someone's going to read this, then the editing really took me longer than it actually writing the book. And so then I was chopping stuff out of it, because I'm like, I'm not writing a textbook here. Like, this is boring, cut that out. But this is boring. And just kind of going through that to like, what are just the things that someone definitely needs to know. And then I thought maybe the book was going to be 5 pages. So I was glad that it was a full book and it kind of hit all the areas that I wanted it to hit. But it is a labor of love.
That's beautiful. And where can people find your book? The link is below, but where can people find your book for those that are listening? Maybe they're driving right now.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Target.
And tell us the title of your book again.
Investing is your superpower.
Investing is your...
Shoo, shoo, shoo. I feel like it should have some effect.
Great. The last question for you is, for any parents that are listening, do you teach anything in your book that parents can give to their kids?
I don't think I directly do that in my book, but what I would say to parents is the more you can incorporate what you're paying for things that your children are consuming, I think the more helpful it is to them as they're growing, just to kind of be more in touch with reality. So if they are eventually taking on student debt, that they have an idea of what that means, what that impact is. And, what I recommend people do when they are taking on student debt is whatever degree you're getting, what's a realistic job that you would get after you graduate? And then what is the average pay for that job? And then take a look at what are you paying in tuition? To just kind of, have that more realistic thing. So with my kids, as much as we can, it's like, they're very small, but it's the literally act of taking out the garbage and putting it away and doing the laundry and kind of doing these things. And if we go to the store, I haven't figured this part out yet, because anytime they want anything, I'm like, oh, that's the store's. So it's for us to look at. But that, oh no, that belongs to the store, but they're soon going to outsmart me. But I think that helped me too, growing up, just understanding if you're buying, a CD or something. And I got my first job, I'm like, wow, that's, 4 hours of work after taxes. I'm walking away with the CD. So just kind of giving them that
That's
framework.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful. My last question to you is, what are 3 words that describe you?
Happy, energetic, and what's another one? How could we describe dancing? I do a lot of dancing.
What type of dancing?
Any dancing. Movement. I think it would be movement.
Okay, that's beautiful. I love that. Have you ever tried twerking before?
No. I haven't.
What type of dancing?
That's a type of dancing. We haven't.
Oh, it was fun.
Doing a lot of shimmying, maybe.
Oh, that's great. That was just funny because I just did a video on twerking, so it was fun.
That's great.
Well, this has been really great. I really want to thank you for being a guest here on Happiness from Within. And yeah, just thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners wherever you are in the world. And Shinobu's information will be below. Shinobu, tell them where they can find you. Your website.
Website is empoweredplanning.com. And then Instagram is empowered_planning.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.